flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need, he will provide. So you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't make a move without him. I don't wanna be without him. He's awesome.
What's up, ladies? Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z. It's Friday, so you know it's time for Girls Talk. Now, tonight's topic, I really want to get into it because I think it's been an ongoing thing since I was a little gal. And probably since before then, or I know it's been before then. It's really been not just a cultural thing, but a societal thing. Is societal a real word, Mia? You know, you Websters. Anyway, tonight's topic is called Groom to Groom. Why are girls groomed to be brides when men aren't groomed to be husbands? And so you know how we do on Fridays, we just dive right into it. I got Kisha, we got Mia, we got Bridget, and you got me. So ladies, let's talk about, I'm gonna start with Mia, because this is something we have always talked about over the years. And it's like, you know, it goes back to that saying where women, what is it?
Women love their sons and raise
their daughters, but it's another word. What is the other word? They raise their, I don't know, is that the word?
Yeah, they love their sons and raise their daughters.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So let's start with that. Mia, come on, jump right in.
I mean, that's what I think it is. I think we are in a generation, and even prior to that, it's just, you know, we have been taught to literally be a certain type of woman, a certain type of lady, if you will. Men tend to, when they're growing up, it's like a rite of passage. If you have multiple women that you talk to, you being a player, that's the boy thing.
Right.
Women, you know, if they go on more than one date or a date with more than one person or whatever, then it's automatically slut shaming and that type of thing. And so I think that there's a lot of misogynistic views in society and in church. And so what ends up happening is they preach messages that are more so to groom women. I don't even know that some people realize that's what's happening, but a lot of the messages are about the women, what the what the women should be doing. And I'm sure we'll get into, you know, Proverbs 31 a little bit later today, but they preach that quite a bit and talk about Boaz, and you know, they preach all those types of things. And a lot of it is about how you should submit and that type of thing, but not really teaching men the responsibility of manhood and what it means to be a man. Like not the type of, like you see on the post where it says a real man will do this if he does A, B, and C, and that's subjective. I mean, a real man to some people is not a man unless they hit you upside the head. So that's subjective. But teaching what the responsibility of manhood is versus what the obligation of women are.
Kisha? Kisha's like, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have nothing. I'm thinking about how I was raised, and I honestly don't know if I was groomed to be a wife.
Right.
And I have a son, and I'm raising him as a single mom, and I'm just raising my son to be independent. You know, how to take care of himself and hopefully take care of others. And I'm trying to teach him to be respectful to all people and women, open doors, things that I would prefer in a husband. But to groom, I honestly don't know anymore what that is. It's changed so much. Everyone is different. Every relationship is different. Now you're hearing people have open marriages. People have this. Like, I honestly don't know, for me personally, what it means to be groomed to be a wife or to groom a son to be a husband. Like, but you are right when you say I am just trying to love him. Like, I'm trying to love him and have him love himself so that he can be the best man that he can be. that's hard enough.
Yeah.
That's what I have for that.
Bridget?
I think for men, I was never really groomed into this is what marriage is, this is what it's supposed to look like, you know, and everything else. But it was kind of, as I grew up watching what's around you. But the one thing that you say is grooming, I feel is consistent, is that as women, we always hear, you gotta get married, or if you're not married yet, what's wrong with you? You know, that's something where people always say, well, what's wrong with you? You know, you ain't gonna get no man doing this, you know, everything else. I think that's one thing that has been consistent,
Right.
In regards to that. Like, Kisha, I'm a single parent too. I have a daughter. I feel like I love and I raise her. Because the things that I didn't know, you know, like in a sense, and even to my dad, what I always tell me, don't you walk out this house without money in your pocket. Don't ever let no man be able to tell you this, you know. So in those aspects of it, I get that. But as in trying to teach her, I don't teach her, you have to be married. I say when you get married or if you get married, you know, but I need you to already have yourself in place. I want you to already have your own. I want you to be doing this, and then whoever comes is gonna compliment you.
Right.
You know, that's there. But I have seen, you know, firsthand when I was in college. I was telling I played sports. The varsity blues stuff is real. So there were girls whose basically their job and their career and their parents taught them that when you get into school, you find a quarterback, you find a starter, you find the one that's NFL bound. It is your job. You're not here to get a degree. You are here to get a husband, a baby, and basically you financially set and stable, you know, from this point on. And that's what they would do. So they were giving them the credit cards, they were giving them the cars, they were cooking the food, and these people became part of the family.
Right.
And that was her job and purpose there. So she was groomed for that type of marriage. You know, and it wasn't necessarily saying you're being groomed for love. No, you're being groomed for financial stability. You're being groomed for a future. That's what you're gonna have in the future.
And you know what? I think, you know, for women, it's inundated in us from the beginning. Whether it's playing with Barbie dolls, you know, oh, this is Barbie kid, we're gonna get married. You know, putting tissue on your head and it's becoming your veil. You know, you see some flowers around the house, you're done. It's like you're thinking about this stuff from a little kid, and you don't even realize how it's just in you that we have marriage on our mind in every state of our life. And so a lot of times it's not that we're just groomed for it. It's not just groomed within our family. It's groomed in society. What we're watching, what we see, what we're listening to, even in church. It's always about the Proverbs 31 woman. Go get your Boaz. And it's like when you think about it, you don't really hear them preaching about go get your Ruth. Where your else at? Y'all, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You get what I'm saying? Most single conferences are geared to women. Yeah! You know, come on, cheer, ladies. Where my single ladies at? High five. Just looking retarded. Just looking crazy. And it's like, you don't hear that. You don't hear the 3 steps to become a husband. You know, you don't hear men or women writing books how to get your roots. You get what I'm saying? They don't wanna where you're married. You know. I'm serious. When you think about it, it's like it's always geared towards the woman. And so what I want to talk about is, what are y'all's definition of being a wife, and what is the definition of a husband that you look for? Because when we think about groom to groom, so the first groom is like grooming them, you know, teaching them, training them, rearing them to become a groom. And how we are reared and taught and sometimes manipulated into, you know, becoming what we need to be for a husband and that's why we have so many messed up women. And that's why we go through so many terrible relationships, because we're forever going into the relationships thinking this may be the one.
Right.
We may make it down the aisle.
Right.
You know, instead of and men they ain't doing that.
No.
They're not dating saying this may be the one. This, you know, I want to get with her and we're gonna be murdered. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not going through their, most of them, because I know some guys who do, they just, you like, bro, you just marriage hungry.
Yeah,
Just go
they are.
go do you and then and just stop. But it's like we are constantly put in our face. I don't think men feel bad that they're almost 40 and unmarried.
It's funny.
They don't feel the pressure.
Well, it's funny because I have a guy friend that he didn't feel like that. At 35, he was like, if you're not married by 35, something wrong with you. And
something wrong with us.
No, something
Oh,
wrong
just
with his
period.
guy friend.
Oh,
No,
okay.
men, period.
Oh.
Women are okay. He was like, if you turning 35 and you haven't been at least married, man, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Because in his mind, if you have a job, a good job, you have a car, you have everything, why are you not married? Are you gay? What are you trying to do? Because he's like, there's too many women out here.
Right.
But that's how he was raised, and he's part of this brotherhood, and they all have that same mentality. It doesn't matter if they're in love. By 35, you need, because that's another level of respect. That's another level of accomplishment for them.
Yeah.
This group of brotherhood. And I was like, I don't understand. But when I look at the pattern of my other guy friends, I don't know if they realize it, but they were married by 35.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they were in love or not, this is, okay, I have the career, I have everything I want. Okay, marriage is next, chick.
Right.
So, and I was blown away by that because I was like, but I'm not married. He was like, yeah, but you're a woman, you good. But a man, he was like, that's what you should be doing. You need to be taking care of responsibilities. And I'm like, but you're not happy.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I remember I was talking to this guy, and he asked me, why you ain't married? What's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
We the same age.
Right.
And he was like, well, it's different for a woman. I was like, no, it's actually more pressure on you.
Yes.
Because we don't ask ourselves to marry ourselves. It's not us that are dating and saying, I know some women make an exception, boo. But, it's like, we're not the ones getting down on one knee.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not married or if I don't have a covering, he was going through all this stuff. I was like, that ain't on me, boo. I'm like, but you can go get a woman.
Right, it's women on the go.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's not like the pool is short. And I know we like to say, well, it's more women to men ratio, and that's true. But I'm telling you, it's enough people on this planet for everybody to go get married and do their things. But I want to talk about what's your definition of being a wife, and of course, your interpretation of what to look for in a husband. Because if we're being groomed to groom, and we're constantly being taught to be a wife, what does that look like?
For me, mine has changed. I remember when I was dating my child's father, and I was young, so probably about 24, 25. In my mind, I was like, okay, I had my own apartment, good job, car, everything. I had everything that I felt I needed to be a good mate. And so, but I didn't cook, and I was the best, I don't clean. And so, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is serious. He's my first, real guy, relationship out of college. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna cook. And I was real girl about the cookbooks. And I went over his house, like, I'm gonna clean up. And I just was so depressed. I'm like, this is hard. This is not me. I'm like, I don't like this. And I really tried. Like, I tried, but the harder I tried, the more depressed I got.
Right.
And he was like, I didn't tell you to do any of that. I'm like, but isn't your ex-girlfriend would cook for you, and you talked about how good her cooking was, and she would clean it. I said, so I felt like I needed to step my game up.
Right.
But that just wasn't me. So now I'm like, you know what? I want a husband that cook. I want some, because it's just not, like, I cook holidays, but I'm not the one that, girl, let me cook, get in here, cook, get honey, what you want. That's not me. I will wash the dishes, and like, there are certain things I don't mind doing, but I would love a husband that would cook. He loves to clean. Like, we will compromise, but I do want someone that's a listener. We have to be able to communicate. I want someone that cares about himself.
Right.
Not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, and physically, mentally. I want someone that loves themselves, because you can't expect me to do all that for you. Have be a man of God. I want us to be on the same level. We don't, I want our views to be similar. We need that. That's important to me. Spirituality is important to me. And I'm raising a man, so I want someone that has strong values.
Yeah.
Because I just can't have anyone. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't want someone that smoke. I'm not judging.
She don't need nobody lit.
I'm not judging, but I don't like it. There are just certain things that I don't like, and there are certain things that I don't want around my son. I don't curse. And I might have a few choice words, but that's not part of my everyday language. I don't want someone that's constantly talking about sex and cursing, because again, I have a son. I don't want him thinking that that's what men do. So I have to make sure that, you're someone that my son can look up to. It's not just about me. So there are things, it's not just about, I want him tall, dark, and handsome, and I want him, no. I just want someone, first and foremost, that's, working towards being the best them that they can be.
Mia?
I think that my idea of marriage, my idea of what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a husband has evolved. Right? So I didn't necessarily have examples in my family where I would be like, oh, this couple, I want to be like them. Because they've been married or whatever. There's a lot of divorcees in my family, and a lot of people with baby daddies, in that kind of situation. So I know I didn't want that, right? But I knew that from watching TV, because that's what we did in the 90s. We watched TV, so we watched Family Matters, we watched Cosby Show. We watched things like that. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we watched things like that and saw a family structure, whether it was funny or not.
Right.
We saw a family structure and was like, okay, cool. This is a good idea, right? And then, of course, going to church, like you were saying, all the messages are just constantly, Proverbs 31 woman. And I remember the first time I sat down for myself and read Proverbs 31 and really read what it means to be a Proverbs 31 woman, because of course that's what was being preached. If you're ready for marriage, God is making you a Proverbs 31 woman, and all this other stuff. And once I realized that the Proverbs 31 husband is only referenced like 3 times in that entire portion of it. And the 3 times was when it talks about how his heart fully trusts his wife. That's the first time it mentions the husband. His heart fully trusts the wife. And then the second time it says that he was known in the city gates and sat amongst the elders. His name was known as her husband that sat in the city gates and was known amongst the elders. And then the last one says that he praised her. And so when I really understood what a husband was, that's what I want. Somebody that's not going to be intimidated by what I bring to the table, because I understand that I intimidate a lot of men. I just do. And whether it's because of my career, my education, or what I do at church, or whatever the case may be, when they are in any type of interaction with me, I end up feeling like I can't say who I really am, because that's going to turn them off. Like, I have this type of, degree. They're talking about school. Yeah, I graduated class 2000, whatever. And then it's like, okay, when did you graduate? I'm like, which one? You know what I mean? Which time? Dang, girl, how many degrees you got? So we're gonna talk about this now, right? So then you end up feeling like, like you gotta dumb down and all this other stuff. And when I really went to that scripture and looked at it, I want somebody who, like I said, when it first mentions him, fully trusts in me. His heart fully trusts in me, and he lacks nothing. The second part of that scripture says he lacks nothing. And then the next part says he's known in the city gates and sits amongst the elders, which means he's wise.
Yes.
You have to be wise to sit amongst the elders. You're not no foolish man.
Right.
I don't want no foolish man who out here still fussing about when the next what's the little Nintendo thing. I don't want to hear about that. I just don't. I mean, if that's you, okay, but I don't want to hear about it.
That ain't what she want to hear.
I just don't. And then somebody who is okay with empowering me as a woman, because a lot of the messages are about making sure women know they gotta submit. Even misquoting that scripture where it doesn't say you submit to men, you submit to your own husband,
Yeah.
you know, and just
Submit
stuff
to your
like
own
that.
wives.
You know, that type of thing. Or love your wives as Christ loved the church. Love me, you know. And there's a whole way that it's been taught, like how you should love me. You know what I mean? So that's my evolved way. Before it was like, you make good money. You gotta be tall, dark, handsome, put a goatee and mosquito horns, and don't have no kids. Right. No kids. Don't do, you know, just things like, it was very superficial. Very superficial, and I don't feel like that anymore.
You know, I want to add something before Bridget said her piece. Is just because you get married don't make you a Proverbs 31 woman.
Right.
True. It just don't. And I'm not saying that's what you were saying, but I think a lot of people think that's automatic. When I get married, I'm a Proverbs 30. You're not. You're not even in Proverbs. So you're just 31. like I just want to stress that because I've seen it so many times, and they think that once I say I do, then I'm in alignment with this scripture, with this text, and you're not. No shade. I just wanted to make sure we understood that. Bridget?
Mine has changed over time as well. Because before it was, I just wanted to get married. You know, it was like one of those things where he had to be taller than me, because I was like, I'm not dating a short man. You know, that was like really kind of one of the things. I was like, well, he has to be tall and he has to be nice, and then I'll figure the rest out later. You know, just in there, because it was that stigmatism as you need to get married.
Right.
And then I was like the younger one, and everybody else in the family was getting married. I was the only one that didn't have nobody to bring home for Thanksgiving. You know, so it's like that everyone's looking at you like, again, what's wrong with you?
Right.
And that is one of the things, guys, when you go on a date with a woman, do not ask her, well, why you not married?
Date's over.
Okay, because if I was married, then I wouldn't be sitting here on this date with you. Obviously, I don't have the answer. And you don't either. So please stop asking.
Why you ain't married?
Yeah.
Where your wife at?
So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just
we good.
I was
like
like
a public service
that really
announcement.
kind of burns me though.
That
Because it's
irritates
just like don't try to make something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not married because everything is right with me.
Right.
And you have insecure, intimidating men like yourself who ain't got your stuff together. Praise God. I almost said some things, some choice words like Kisha called them earlier, and then you want to tell me, oh, something's wrong with you. No, something wrong with you, bruh.
But it's so funny. We think the same thing. When you meet a man that's handsome and have everything, and he's not married, no kids, you be like, must be crazy.
Yeah, he got issues. He don't
You
look
think
like
that.
that.
You're right.
But I don't
say it. I don't say it,
Right,
but
right.
I'm like, what's
You may sit and wait like, what?
Okay, so that's so true because
That's
somebody.
why I flip the question when they say, why you not married?
Right. Why?
That is so true though because if somebody's trying to hook you up, you like Zanya, they don't have no
What's
kids, they got
wrong?
kids. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. What's wrong with it?
Yeah. And that is right. What's wrong? What is
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
what happened in this last relationship?
Right.
Clearly something wrong with
I'm
it.
the one that was, you know, but that's a part of it.
That is, it's kind of a double standard.
But I think, but we all have to understand it. That's how they get to do what they want, you know.
mean,
so,
we respect. We won't just come out and say it.
no.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, we gonna say it.
Only because they don't mind coming out and saying
Right,
it.
this is true.
Yeah. So
I think now for me, I know one of the things, and I've actually always prayed on before, I would say, God, I want someone that's going to be able to take me closer to you.
Yeah.
You know, that can understand, because I feel like if, even when you say,
She real sad.
well, I'm using the truth.
No.
I'm close. I need someone to help me. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing.
yeah.
You know, in regards to saying, I really did desire that. Tell me someone, because my thing, I am not the most submissive type of person. You have to give me a reason to submit. So the thing is, why would you think I want to submit to you and you don't even
Give
have
me
yourself
something to
together?
submit to.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mind letting you take the lead. In fact, I want you to take the lead.
Right.
But if I think you're gonna take the lead and you're showing me that you about to run us off the cliff, I can't submit to that. You know, so that's for me. I think a lot of people lose that when they say you're supposed to be submissive, you're not submitting. I can't submit to that. I'm not gonna settle. So that's one of the things, and another thing that I desire too, because I do have a daughter. I am a single mother. I say, Lord, please send someone who's gonna love my daughter and not in a perverted way and as if she's her own.
Yeah,
to where people do not realize that that's not his baby. Because for me, my desire for her is I want her to see a healthy relationship and what a healthy marriage is, because she has not seen that.
Right.
Nor have I seen, or experienced this is what a healthy. So I want the Lord to send me somebody, that can say, okay, this is healthy, this is your healthy. Because my healthy may be different than somebody else's healthy. So I just say I try to be very specific, you know what I'm saying, and it's not intimidated either. Because a lot of times when you are established on the root, it is root, right? The Proverbs 31. I don't know. I don't know all my scriptures. Bridget on front, I don't know the scriptures like that. So, but to be there, that's the thing. The Proverbs 31, you're saying you're established. I'm comfortable in myself, but at the same time, you need a man that's gonna be comfortable with you, because you're constantly pushing somebody and pouring. I need someone that can feel me too. At the same time, knows how to feel me and knows how to communicate. The same thing, and say he can sit back and say, "Girl, that's my wife sitting up there," and be okay. He is proud, and at the same time, we can communicate things where he may have to tell me some stuff. No, you shouldn't do that. And it's a way that he can grow me in a very nice manner, to where it's not abusive, and he knows the right things to say to get me to listen.
I think a lot of times with that particular, when we talk about church and how they constantly preach a certain thing, it is to continue the misogynistic way of things. So you preach about Ruth and Naomi, and you preach about that whole story. The Boaz story is really just
everybody don't want no Boaz.
I'm just not. But they always preach it as a way to this is how you get the man. This is what they always preach it or whatever. But I really think that one of the reasons why they preach it from that perspective is because it still continues to diminish where women are, because a lot of times we listen to our grandparents, great-grandparents, and things of that nature. What was acceptable then is not acceptable now. Back then, a woman went from their parents' home to her husband's home. So she really didn't know how to get a bank account, get a job, drive. You had to be fully dependent on this man. That's not today's time. And so I think preaching it from that perspective, who wants to really read through Proverbs 31 and know that she was buying her own land? She was considering herself. She wasn't going to say, husband, what do you think about me buying this land? She had her own money, and she weighed out the pros and the cons, and she bought it, And so I don't think that they really preach it from that perspective, because then they don't want that, it's like being against feminist thing or whatever, and being against the equality of the genders, so to speak. That's just my opinion.
So I'm glad that we brought up Esther, even Ruth, but I think about the story of Esther, and I think about the first queen, Vashti. And she gets a bad rep, right? But when you think about it, the king just wanted to show her off because she was beautiful. Right. She a trophy. And she was just like, nah. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming. I got my own thing going here, because that's what she was doing. She had her own little party. And she was like, no, I'm not coming. And he felt disrespected. And now you ain't the queen no more. Let me go find somebody else. And when you think about that mentality, and I understand, don't get me wrong, don't throw context at me. I get, that was for that time. That was inappropriate. But what I am saying is, when you look at, the story holistically, and you think about the attitude, the stance that he was taking, it further validates what Mia is saying, in regards to, I got my own stuff popping. I don't just call or show up when you call me. You don't get to just show me off because I'm beautiful. I have my own stuff. I'm glad you got a party and a feast going, but guess what? My life is popping over here too. And so I think sometimes, that's hard for some men to accept, because they do have that old way of thinking, in regards to what a wife is and what a husband is. When it comes to me, because I think I'm the only one that didn't answer the question, I really don't have a picture of it anymore. And, at first I was like, you keep this picture in your head for a long time, but then as I've been single so long, like Mia said, that picture just keeps changing. And so now it's more so like, I don't even want to paint a picture, and I really don't have one in my head. Like, I can throw out qualities and things that you guys have said that you would want, and you know, all of that is great because I'm in agreement. Like, that's a good quality. But it's like at this point in my life and at this stage in my life and how things are going, it's like I don't even want to limit myself.
Right.
Because I need a man that's going to be constantly changing just like I am. Constantly evolving, constantly moving. You know, it's like, you know, I don't have that perfect picture because I already know that whatever God has for me is going to be abnormal. It's going to be unorthodox. And so it's going to require somebody the same way.
Right.
And so when you think about things that are unorthodox, you really can't put it in a picture. There's no portrait of that. And so for me, it's like, when I think about what a wife is, that is totally different from what my granny them saw, and you know what my even siblings, friends, you know, what their identity of what, or their idea of what marriage is. My place as a wife, his place as a husband. We're just two totally different things. And so when I think about biblically, of course, that's the foundation. But it's like, you know, everything doesn't work for everybody. And it's like when you paint these pictures, because God may very well send a man in your life right now and say he it, and he look at you and be like, look at that. And he like, that's it, that's right right there. You know, we finna do this thing, and your whole picture, it's nothing like it. Not saying it would be horrible, but it could be much better than that. And so it's like you have to get rid of those new normals that you have put in your head, because you're like, I'm not gonna be normal. It's not gonna be the everyday type of marriage that people like to see. You know, it's gonna be totally different from that. And then you get married and it's like, okay, that ain't what I had in mind. You know, this is much better. And now you having to alter. And so I think in my mind, it's like just going in with a blank slate. And letting God build what marriage is for me. Right. Letting God build what a wife is for me. Letting God build what a husband is for him. You know, for the entire unit. And so it's like now I don't even play on that. You know, for me personally, it's like I don't even just go down a rundown of what I need and this and the other, because as I'm growing, as I'm evolving, as God is, you know, pushing me further into my purpose, it's like what I wanted has changed now. You know, what I'm saying, oh, this is what I need now, it's like, baby, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't want that. And it's like now I'm getting to a point, and you know, been almost 10 years single. That's a long time, amen. Been almost 10 years single, you know, you've seen yourself grow and the shift and the change. And so now I'm at the point where I'm really just tapping into really doing my own thing, because I've been doing me, but now it's like me on another level, and I'm feeling myself. And so it's like, yeah, I want a man, but at the same time, I'm like, what up, bro? I'm good over here. You get what I'm saying? It's not to say, oh, as long as you don't want a man, don't think that, but hey, whoever you are, hey, babe, how you doing? It's not that at all. It's just that I know whoever God has for me cannot have this stabilized way of thinking. Right. It cannot be just tunnel vision. This is what a wife is, where you go over there with your wife, because that's not for me. Amen. You know, I don't know what the karate hands were. What'd you say, Bridget? But it's like, you know, I think about that now, and it's like sometimes we can limit ourselves with our checklist. And Mia used to have a list, baby. She did. She had a thorough list where I was just like, God, well, let me go look up my stuff here, because my little list didn't look right. But it's like, you know, you don't want to put those limitations on yourself. Used to. Yes. She did say used to, which I'm giving you your props. You know, she has grown, honey. Because I'm telling you, that was an encyclopedia. And I was like, who can live up to that? Jesus ain't even that right there. That ain't even. That ain't even the Savior. Amen. But I want us to really dive into the grooming part, because it's like, okay, do you rely solely on Christ to groom you, or you know, have you been being groomed all your life? And by what I mean by being groomed all your life is not just parents instilling in you be a good wife, or the church instilling in you be a good wife. What are some grooming tools that you have learned along the way that you know is going to help you be an effective wife? Not just a good wife, but an effective wife in your marriage. Was that a good question?
It's a real good question because I think that a lot of people don't think about that.
That's true.
And so I think it's a really, really, really good question. For me, I was groomed to be a single woman. That's just, realistically, I was groomed to go out and get it. I went out and got my education. If I wanted to travel, I did. I didn't wait anybody to travel. If I wanted to come, great. This is where I'm going. This is how much you need, and this is the deadline you need to get it to me. If you don't get it to me, I'm still going. If I wanted to move, I did. If I wanted to leave the country and live somewhere else, I did.
Yeah.
Like, I pretty much did what I wanted to and didn't rely on anybody because it's always been instilled in me that you don't wait on nobody, you don't wait on no man, you know. So technically, I was groomed to be a strong, independent Black woman. That's what I was groomed to be. I think now I'm of the mind frame where God has had to really show me what would work in a unit for me.
Right.
Because marriage is different for everybody.
Yes,
What works for one person may not work for me. And so it also depends on what your careers are, depends on, it's different things for everybody. And when you have, someone who's a go-getter, visionary, things of that nature, like it's different things that you need in a structure, in a marriage structure. But I know for me, what really God had to show me just in the last year or two was you got to slow down. If you plan on ever getting married and having a family, you can't work 70 or 80 hours a week. You can't, constantly be dedicating yourself, overextending yourselves to projects all over the place. And so basically, when it boils down to it, you don't have time to meet nobody. It's not fair for you to meet anybody right now. It's not fair for you to say you in a relationship with somebody when you don't have time to even call. By the time you get home, you're tired. You don't want to talk. You're irritated. You eat once a day. They gonna eat more than that. You're gonna have to date this person. You want to stay at home and don't want to go nowhere. So those are things that he had to really show me that if I wanted something different, you're gonna have to do some different things. So I made the conscious decision. No one had to come to me and say, A, B, and C. I know what God has shown me. I know what God wanted me to have and what God wants me to do, now and in the future. At least some of it, since we know I'm part of prophesying part, right? So I know some of it. And I made decisions for myself at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of this year to say, you know what? I want to get married. I want to have kids. So one of the first things I'm going to have to do is change my job. Period. As much as I love it, love what I do, I cannot work 70 hours plus a week. I cannot have my phone ringing all hours of the day and night. I cannot be working on the weekends. I cannot be working at holidays. I'm not going those people are already married with kids. I'm not married at all. So if I'm gonna ever get somewhere, I gotta let that go. So that was the first decision I made, was changing my job. It wasn't a comfortable decision, but nevertheless it was a decision I made. I made another decision to move around from a very top level, if you will, position in an organization. I decided not to be in that role anymore. Again, I need to free up my time. So some of the biggest decisions I've made this year is freeing up my time so I'm in a healthy relationship when I get into a relationship and I'm not selfish.
So making yourself available to it.
Not just available, but making myself available, present, making sure that I can adjust, because having certain types of careers and stuff is inflexible.
But what I'm saying, when I say available, I'm saying now you have prepared, you have saturated the ground. My ground is completely open for whatever at this point. I have the time, I have the space, I have the ability, I'm financially in a place, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm financially in a place where I can say, if I got married right now, I'm good, whatever. I have my little nest egg on the side over here, and then you got your little, I can do all that at this point. I'm proud of you. Me too. I'm proud of her. She's come along. She's come a long way. Give me a fist bump. Elbow, and a twerk.
because I don't know, that just freed me because I think I was raised.
I just love these conversations because I know they're freeing y'all.
No, seriously,
Yeah.
because I'm getting older, and I know even my family's like, when you gonna get married? When you gonna get married? But I'm fine. I am so settled in my singleness.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to be married, but I haven't done the things that you said you wanted to do, that you're doing, making that,
yeah.
I'm still settled. Like, for once, I am happy, I'm comfortable, I am settled within myself with being single. But what I am doing, and I know that the Lord is doing within me, He's healing me from my past.
Yeah.
So I know that is a big step for me preparing to be married, because I had a lot of wounds from my childhood that now that I'm looking back at past relationships, it affected me in a major way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm the one that self-sabotaged a lot of relationships because of abandonment issues and wounds. Not wanting to ask anybody for anything, I'll do it by myself, to the point where guys was calling me Wonder Woman. And I'm like, I don't want you to need, I need to take care of me. I just had this thing, I didn't want to be needy. I didn't want to, I just wanted to be independent because I was like, I need to have everything lined up for me to be the perfect mate.
Right.
And I've had all that, but yet my heart was sick. And I wasn't emotionally healthy. And so God, what He's doing within me right now is healing me of past wounds. And so that's my preparation for a relationship. And just being comfortable to say, I'm happy being single. Whereas before, I'm like, well, I talk to people, like, I've always made excuses. Like, I got friends, no, I am single and I'm happy and I'm settled in it. Because that's a strong statement to me. That's someone that knows who they are and they are confident in it. And I'm finally at a place where I'm not ashamed that I'm single and I'm not married. Right. But I know God is leading me towards being married because, like I said, lately in 2020, a lot of things are coming up to where God is saying you have to get your heart right.
Yeah.
You have to get your heart right. Because if I bring that, your guy, if I bring your mate to you, you're going to run him off. Because I'm insecure with my feelings, or I'm not trusting, or I don't feel like a person can truly love me, because what is love? So God is just redefining some things, and He started by drawing me closer to Him. Because, if I don't believe that God loved me, then how am I going to believe someone else does? So God had to, I had to fall in love with God, and then I fell in love with myself. And now that we have such a close relationship, now I know what it means to be loved. Whereas it was, my definition of love was very skewed. It was very toxic. Like, I honestly didn't know what love was. So now that I know what healthy love is, I think God is preparing me for a relationship and to be married.
I was talking to Bridget a few weeks ago, and I was just telling her, I said, how people always say, your spouse pops up when you ain't looking for it.
Right.
And I told her, I said, when I think about this decade span of being single, and how much time I spent getting myself together for marriage. And now I told her, I said, I am so settled in just being single. I'm so good being single. Like, now everything I do, to compliment myself, to better myself, to heal, to do self-improvement, it's not for marriage.
Right.
It's for Zanya. And it's not like, okay, I want to be financially stable and I want to have my own stuff going because, when he come, I want him to have his own stuff going, and it's two individual. And now, don't get me wrong, I still want that. Right. But it's like everything was literally centered around a marriage. And so every move that I made was centered around, when I get married, I'm getting myself ready. So when he come along, whereas now that's out of the circle. And what's in that circle now is me and God. And so everything that I do now, every move that I make, every decision that I make, anything that I'm intentional about just Zanya. About just Zanya. And so, and I told her, I said, it's amazing how it took that long. You know, because you wrestle so many years, like, God, where's my man? You know, or, you know, God, where's my Boaz? You know, you go through that whole phase, and it's like, after a while, I was like, honey, I don't want Boaz. Everybody want Boaz. It's more people in the Bible than just Bo, okay? All right, I don't want Bo. Bo is taken. Boaz is dead, okay? So your Boaz is in the grave. For those of y'all who keep asking, God, where's my Boaz? He's dead, okay? Dead, gone. Amen. So you need to look for somebody else, maybe for Kirk, Curtis, Trent. Pick a different name is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what you want to call your model guy, but just throw Boaz away. But what I'm saying is, it took time, and that shows you how it's so like inundated in our minds and ingrained in us, where every decision that we're making is like with marriage in mind. And so I finally got to the point, and I called her just randomly, and I was like, you know, I realized that I am just in a great place. And every move that I've made, especially in the last couple of years, especially like Mia said, and even you, this year alone, in 2020, it's like every decision that I have made hasn't been centered around that. It's been really just embracing my time of isolation. And I remember I was sitting in my living room, and you know how you have those bouts with loneliness, like, man, God, I'm by myself, you know, oh, it's raining, this will be a good day to cuddle, you know, it's quarantine, you know, I want to quarantine and chill, not chilling that well, I mean, you know, you just never know.
Quarantine bae.
Yeah, quarantine bae and all of that. And I remember God just spoke to me so clearly. I remember I just broke down crying, and he said, I just want a little bit more time with you. And I cried like a baby, and because he didn't talk to me as God and you know, just all his power and his splendor. He just talked to me as a dad. And he was, I mean, the way he was just like, I have that for you. But I know when that time comes, the reality is I have so much going for you, and there's going to be so many compartments to your life that, you know, your time is not going to be like this with me.
Right.
And so it's like he loves you that much, and he wants that intimacy with you, that he's like, I'm just holding out just a little bit longer because you're my girl. You know what I'm saying? I want to spend some more time with you. And that really broke me. And so it was like during that time that it really started shifting for me, where it was just like, okay, this is not, and don't get it twisted. It wasn't like, what I do know for all of us is we never was miserable. No. You know, and I think that's the biggest misconception when you see people getting married and they automatically assume, oh, you want what I want. You just want to be married. Or you lonely, you know, or they try to really throw their marriage out there and flex it like, you know, I'm so happy, and you really know you settled and your marriage sucks and you suck too. But you don't say anything. You just be like, God bless. Good luck with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that, I'm not saying that out of bitterness. I'm saying that out of realness. You know, so for y'all married folks that's looking at single folks, and you thinking just because you got somebody on your arm, and you forget, folks know the truth. Amen. And so it's like just getting to that space of complete wholeness. And how long it takes, and God is still working. He's still mending. You know, he's still healing. He's still delivering. There are a lot of things he's still operating on me on. But it's like when you finally get to that place of, I'm good. I'm not groomed for a groom. I'm groomed for Christ and everything that he has for me and what he wants to do through me. And you when you get to that spot, you're just like, that's why I said earlier, I really don't have no picture no more. I'm solid in just Z. And so whoever come along, it's like, you extra. You know, you ain't no icing on the cake. I'm the cake, I'm the icing, I got the candles, you know, just be glad you can have a slice. Amen. You see what I'm saying? And so that's not arrogance, it's not being big-headed, but it's like, you know, you have to be so confident in you. You have to be so confident in you that when they come along, they really are just complimenting you. And it's not trying to make you whole. It's not, you know, so you can have, my picture is complete now. If nobody ever sits in my picture, I'm good, sitting real cute.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Oh, Jesus.
Bridget, look, Bridget.
Keeping hair on.
I'm just saying, y'all just saying. Praise God, men's of God. Praise you.
Listen, this is what you're gonna get right here.
All of this, which is a fraction of a fraction.
Of a fraction.
Of a fraction. Go ahead. You can look. Go ahead. Don't listen.
I think for me, the last 2 years of my life has felt like a roller coaster just take off. And it was like things changed completely. So, and it was kind of like, you know, your thoughts before on what you thought you wanted. It was like God came in and said, ain't none of that it.
Right.
So I'm about to shake up your life from top to bottom. And I think that's one of those things as in tools is when I started to grow more spiritually, my desires started to change, my taste started to change, the things that I wanted that I didn't have time to concentrate on what wasn't. Right. So it was like one of those, and it was more like, well, this is not it because I still need to work on some stuff in you. And that was the main thing that I realized that I had to get. And for a lot of people think marriage is going to make things better. Right. If you're not fixed, it's going to make it worse. Yeah. And what could have been a good thing is now not a good thing because you have too much toxic things going on. And a lot of times, and I know for myself, and I've been able to say this, I'm glad he didn't send the right one because I was going to toe it up. And that is the truth. I know that.
Indeed.
And it was what?
Now I'm talking about me.
Oh, I So I was like,
no, I'm just saying, I was real close to the altar and was like, nah.
So yeah, it was one of those where he really had sent me. I'm like you. I stay on the move. I ain't got time to sit down. We gotta go do this. I have this to do. There's something new. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And he said, okay, well, if you can't sit yourself down, I'm gonna force you to sit down. And he forced it. I mean, I just months and months on months. I just couldn't do nothing. And I was frustrated. And I finally had to sit back and say, okay, what is it? You know, what are you trying to show me? What is it I'm trying that I need to hear, that I need to work on? And it's even the point I just said this to my coworker. I said, I thank God I didn't have no boo during quarantine because we would have made it because they would have had to go. You know, sitting there is what I'm thinking because in that space, I'm so comfortable in my singleness. You know, before I would be praying, Lord, send him, Lord, this. Now I have to change my prayer, Lord, prepare me because I don't know if I'm ready. You know, sitting there because it's even at a point now where I'm like, so I got to share my space.
Right.
You know, so I got to tell you where I'm going. You know, it's just sitting there and it's out of respect, but it's not saying that I don't want that. It's not what it's saying. I do want that, but I am so good right now to where I'm excited about the spiritual area that God has me growing in, that he's teaching me now how to set up boundaries. Yeah. Because I didn't do that before, and boundaries are important in a marriage. That's right. So if I didn't have these things set and in place prior to going into a marriage, the marriage would have spiraled out of control because I didn't have control in my own life. And that is one of the things that I had to learn, and I see that he had to work on me. You need to set boundaries. You need to communicate sooner. Yes. If it's upsetting you, say it. That's good. And you know, those are things that are crucial in marriage is communication. Right. If I can't expect you to know what's wrong with me. You know, and that's something I need to tell you. And then if it's something that you're doing that I feel is disrespectful or something, I need to tell you that. And I need to be able to communicate that to you in a manner that is not volatile. Because the words that come out of your mouth can really break a person down. And you want to be mindful of the things that you say. So he's teaching me, you know, these things and how to handle myself, because if I can't do it now and I can't do it for myself, how am I going to do it in a relationship?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you know what I hear, you know, from all of you ladies, including myself, when you think about communication, speaking up, you know, making time, healing, all of those are tools that are going to be needed in order not to just build a good marriage or a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship, but sustain it. And that's why it's so important. And I definitely wanted to talk about this because so many women I see in marriages, and their whole identity is their marriage and their husband. Their marriage, their husband, their children, they're this, they're that, and you've seen them put their dreams on hold, you've seen them forfeit, you've seen them, there's no passion there, and it's like they made their passion their spouse and their kids and their marriage, because it was like, okay, well, I gotta give up on this.
Right.
You know, so now I got to do that. And so what happens is resentment is there, envy is there. They'll see somebody else doing, you know, something that they love or what they desire to do, and it's like they'll be angry with you that you're doing it, and it's like, you know, I pursued passion, I pursued purpose, I pursued what God wanted for me, and that comes with sacrifice. It comes with, you know, being isolated. It comes with longer seasons of loneliness. It comes with the things that people don't like, and so, you know, it's like you have to be willing to endure it, you know, in order to get to what God has for you, and be willing to say, I'll wait no matter how long it takes. And so I'm glad we talked about these things, because I want to encourage the young ladies out there, you know, not to feel less than, not to feel insecure, not to feel like you're beneath the next person, not to feel like that your whole life has to be centered around grooming yourself or allowing other people to groom you to get a groom. You know what I'm saying? That is not what life is just about. You know, that's an added plus, because of course that's the way God created us, not to be alone. You know, some people have that ministry in them, you know. Keep the Paul ministry away from me. Okay, I don't want that. I'm just saying. We all second that.
Yes.
Pray that now with 30. Amen.
Amen.
Just shout to that. But it's like, you know, communion juice. No. But yeah, it's just, you know, I want to encourage the ladies that are watching, whether you're young, whether you're our age or even older, where you're just like, man, no, I'm saying our age or older. No. I'm saying young, our age, it was inclusive.
I didn't know that whole.
No, because, you know, it's some older women that are probably watching like, I wish I had learned that. You know, I'm older now, I'm in my 50s and 60s, and I'm just now getting it. You know, and it's never too late to start over. You know, even with the younger women, it's like, let this be your red flag. Let it be your sign where you're like, you know what, let me start praying that now. Had I had somebody saying these type of things to me when I was young, 18, 20, 30, 35, you know what I'm saying? Then I would have missed a lot of things. And when I say missed, I'm talking about heartaches, you know, just long seasons of being hard on myself, you know, having unrealistic expectations, limiting myself on things, you know, that it's just unnecessary. And so, and if you are the women who are like us, who are just now getting it, bravo to you, sis, like for real. Take it in stride, and if you ain't doing it, start now. Start now. Build your life around you and Christ, and when He is ready to put somebody in your life to enjoy life with you, then He will. I remember, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna close it out. I remember when I was in counseling, my counselor told me, she said, you know, Zonia, go through life like this. She said, because right now you're living life like this. You're holding on to everything that you have, the people in your life, you know, you're holding them dear. She said, there's nothing wrong with that. She said, but the thing about it is, as the world turns, your seasons change. She said, you need to have your hands open, because there are some people that God want to kick out of your life, and they need to have space to leave, and you need space for Him to drop things and people in your life. And so you want to go through life like this, even concerning yourself, not just for the sake of God putting people in your life, but you want to be like that for you. It's free. You're not holding on to anything. You're giving yourself the permission to say, okay, if this doesn't work, God, boot that out, and then drop what I need in my life to make it work for me, so that I can operate in a healthy state of mind, in a healthy place, and I can be in that position that I so desire. And guess what? Whenever you get in that position, it's not going to look like what you're thinking. It's gonna be totally different, and you're still gonna love it. You're still gonna love it, and that's the joy of being on a journey with Christ Himself. When it comes to just you and Him, because He just wants time with you. He just wants time, and He wants to see you become what He thought you to be anyway. And so it's up to us if we allow Him, to really develop us, and we have to pursue what it is that he thought us to be before the foundations of the world. And so many people don't pursue that because we adopt these other images, for ourselves, and these other beliefs, and we allow society and our families to groom us for things that God, I ain't never had that in mind for you, no way.
Yeah.
Amen. So I thank y'all ladies for always being naked. for showing your inner parts. For showing your inner parts. Amen. And I pray that the ladies who are watching, that like I always say, that y'all take these tools, y'all make them conversation pieces. We want to hear you in the comments. If something we said bless your life, tell us, because sometimes sitting up here and the cameras go out, we be like, oof,
Yeah.
honey, I can't believe I said that. Right. And it just creates more dialogue even for us. So like Kisha said earlier, I was so giddy because I know a lot of these conversations are freeing. I know it's forcing us out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Y'all see us laughing sometimes, but I'm telling you, sometimes the camera go off and I'm like,
Right.
child. That's real word right there. Child. And so we appreciate y'all for tuning in for another episode of what's this? Girl Talk. I was gonna say another episode of Groom to Groom. Groom to Groom. Right. Next Friday, y'all know what it is. We're gonna be right back here, same time, same place. Girl Talk, where we keeping it real, we keep it raw, and we keep it what, ladies? Classy. So y'all have a safe weekend. Enjoy yourselves. We'll see y'all later. What is this? Why is she doing this to people?
Life and I got it on track. Gotta keep it pushing, so let